hammering on. Just smack them.
So, Brian Patrick Gordon, chiropractor, Jersey City, New Jersey. It is fun being a chiropractor. That's the one thing I'd like to, if I meet any young chiropractors, explain to them. It is fun. You get to meet people from all over the world who do all sorts of jobs. And you just get the, you become a part of their life, either just for that one time or for many times. And for me, there's joy. I was talking with Phil Chimay before the meeting about my parents, and the one thing I learned from them is about helping people. They were big on helping others. And the statement that all make is just focus on, when you just help the people, God will just give you whatever you need. You don't have to worry about it. My mother would say, or there's, whatever you give, you get back tenfold. So when you do nice things, and being a chiropractor, just by serving people, and just by focusing on that, I know I've been rewarded greatly. And I really don't have to think about it. And that's all I'm going to say. I don't have much to say with that. So that's it for me. Phil Chimay.
Thank you. What would you say to a young chiropractor who just graduated from chiropractic school? Says, yeah, that sounds great, having fun in chiropractic. But how is one supposed to have fun when he has a $200,000 nut and has no patience, to pay that nut? How does one have fun doing that?
Fortunately, I had a death, but certainly not like that. Well, you could either do it and be happy and have some fun, or do it the other way and be miserable. That's up to them. I really don't have much to say to someone like that.
Okay.
Not that I'm condemning them or making fun of them, I'm just saying that's their business.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else want to ask me, Senior BPC, anything? That's it. All right, we start on the, what's that bang?
You want to go up?
I'm gonna go.
Don Fernando.
I go. Fernando Mendez, chiropractor, Brooklyn. I'm gonna follow Brian's fun as a chiropractor theme, because yesterday was a wonderful day at my office. Just, being in Brooklyn and being a chiropractor, I always said I might not be able to get like everywhere in the world, but I'll let the world come to me. And yesterday, from pregnant women to little children, to these three, I'm gonna say Guatemalan young guys, man. And if you wanted a picture of hard work, these guys came in with their boots on and their overalls and just their hands and just so beat up. But they were happy to be there. One guy had been there before and the other two were new, and it was wonderful to take care of them. But it was the United Nations of diversity yesterday there, and it was really nice. And it's been strange seeing some people who I've seen for years, and I don't talk to people much, but how much they're opening up lately and telling me things. These are people I've known 15, 18 years ago. I don't know much about their story, and just in the last maybe month they're sharing things about their origin, which was really interesting. On another note, I watched an interesting little documentary called Terrain Theory. One of the things we come down here, South Center, I feel like we're going beyond nature, but chiropractic, we always talk about innate, the body's inborn ability to heal itself, and we have to focus sometimes on that science of it. And out there, the science they're giving us is about these germs attacking us. But this Terrain Theory did a nice job of talking about how these problems start within ourselves. We know when there's a bunch of garbage, those pests come and look for that garbage. The pests don't bring the garbage. A nice example they gave in that little movie was they put a little compost pile of all that organic material, how it develops all that bacteria in it, and then we go, nope, you have to be crazy to think the bacteria just came and put that stuff there. Or they gave the example of a dead dog, you see all those maggots on it. You wouldn't say the maggots killed that dog, the maggots came to clean up the waste and debris that dog is now disintegrated. So I would recommend people who are unfamiliar with those ideas to go find that. It's been out for a few years, and they did a very good job on it. And that's all I have to share tonight.
Anyone like to ask Fernando anything? Phil
What's
Bracco.
the name of the
Terrain theory.
terrain?
And they're talking about how it's not so, it's the condition of the body that produces these problems, not that we get attacked from outside by these entities.
Can you spell terrain?
Terrain.
Okay.
It's kind of like the soil, not necessarily the
So
sea.
you're talking about somebody's.
And I'll add this on, a few months ago, I brought it up here, I think, about, hey, I don't hear many people talking about Bashamp, but they do talk about Bashamp in that documentary. And I always text Brian, hey, when did Pasquale talk about this or that? Because I know Pasquale talked about things, so I sent a text to Brian, when did he talk about Bashamp? And Brian said, I'll look it up, I'll see. And then maybe a few weeks ago, I go, wait a second. I was like, I got it on my own YouTube page. I put that on 10 years ago. So if you look me up, I would recommend you watch this 2-hour documentary first, and then watch the 10-minute video on Pasquale, who just breaks it down in those 10 minutes to really explain it very neatly. At the end of that documentary, they wrap it up talking about resonance and water. And as we know down here, chiropractic is based on tone. And Pasquale goes into that about the frequencies hitting those seeds inside that cell. And that frequency, when it comes in, hits those granules or seeds, or they'll call them exosomes. Bashar called them microzymas. That's part of the confusion where the naming gets different. Some people call them viruses. And depending on what that frequency, let's say a frequency of fear or negativity, will spur some of those things to come about that will react to that tone of fear or react to certain toxins. And those things are not set in stone. Those things can go one way or the other, that kind of genetic material that stuff is made out of. And I'll just leave it at that.
Well, how does chiropractic help this situation?
Well, right there, we're talking about, the cell. We're talking about even things smaller than cells. They're talking about, some people call it plasma, where the place where matter and waves come into existence. We as chiropractors look at the real physical structure of those bones. And when we put that tone in there, we can really loosen up a lot of the garbage that would produce within ourselves those viruses that we see when somebody is ill. Again, those things are there to clean up a mess. But we can do a better job, or we can help that process by putting in that tone and shaking all that garbage out of the people. And that really is ultimately kind of what we do. Maybe not cracking backs and moving bones necessarily. Of course we do that stuff. But at a smaller level, that tone shakes up people's garbage and helps them heal.
All right, Don, go ahead, Phil.
So would you say chiropractors are garbage collectors?
You know what? I used to say to people, I'm going to knock the crap out of you. And they really, because I instead of a garbage collector, I would knock the crap out of you. Because I'm not picking up their stuff. I'll let that stuff, come out of them.
Okay.
Don Fernando, right.
Oh my goodness.
I guess I'll go.
Take your jacket off.
No.
He's very
Regal. I look regal.
He's on it.
First of all, my wife Joanne wishes you all the best of holiday seasons, whatever you celebrate. Everybody, Merry Christmas. Whatever you celebrate out there. And she says hello, and she wishes she could be here, but she can't. Having said all that, how many have heard, by show of hands, Edgar Casey? Oh, good. Well, you all know he was called the sleeping prophet. And it's amazing how when you've heard the expression, when the student is ready, the master will appear, right? I guess I was ready. But not that what I heard on this YouTube, I surf through YouTube a lot. I watch a lot of spiritual things. I watch a lot of battles, Roman battles. I'm very interested in that, gladiator stuff. I know I was a gladiator and I was a lousy one. I always got killed. But the point is, as I was surfing, all of a sudden, Edgar Casey, what or who is God? About 30 minutes, I said. All right, let me see what I say something I never heard. I turn it on. And it was very interesting that, Edgar Casey was a devout Christian. He was actually a minister. He used to preach the pulpit. Hallelujah. And he was called a sleeping prophet because a lot of times patients or people would have maladies, would go to the medical doctors. They had no idea, but they heard about this sleeping prophet. He would go into a trance, okay, and actually diagnose them 100% correctly. And would recommend the treatment that would eliminate that ailment. And guess what he always recommended?
Chiropractic.
That's right. Yes, he did say some herbs and vitamins, what have you. But he said, get thee adjusted. And everybody always got well. Now, having said that, that wasn't the main portion of this video. Who and what is God? So I recommend you guys watching it. It's really good. It's nothing that we haven't heard. But the way the pictorials depicted it really sent the message home for me. Okay? For me. It might not be for you, but for me. And he said, think of God as the ocean. And the waves are the manifestations that we call human beings. And any other living thing, a dog, a cat, whales, mammals, anything, even viruses, everything that's alive, think of it as a wave. And you see the wave, but then they did something cooler. You actually now see the wave standing there like a human. And the human now is taking on this persona, which in Latin we know means to wear a mask. That which you are not. And this persona becomes our personality. I have a certain arrogant one, you might have a certain demure one, but we all have these personalities that we align ourselves to, which is the mask. I'm a chiropractor, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm an idiot, whatever. The point is, all these masks that I wear are there to hide up the truth. And what is the truth? I am the water, I am the ocean, I am the divine. And we get lost in the personalities. So when we start to talk about other professions, and I'm talking to me, when we start to talk about other professions, I have to start looking at that profession as divine manifesting itself out of the ocean as a medical doctor. I might totally disagree because I'm this wave over here manifesting as a chiropractor, right? These personalities we took on. And my personality is going to say that that personality is wrong. How silly. Because we're all the divine, wearing different masks, but we're judging everybody according to their mask. So it drove the point home for me that I got to no longer take umbrage with the medical profession. That's been the bane of my existence, in the sense of, how can they do that to people? They don't want it done to them. They want the natural cures. Why don't they recommend their people to the natural? All this, you will heard me say this 100 times. But the point is, it drove it home, that I have to start looking at them as the divine wearing a mask, a medical one. And that's it. And go beyond that mask and see the divine with the divinity in them.
All right, I wanted to ask Senor Phil anything.
What? I highly recommend watching.
Phil, how does chiropractic help you do that?
Well, if, as Pat has told us numerous times, we work with the bone, or osseous system, right? But bone, spell bone, B1, right? So if I keep taking my adjustments as hitting that flint stone, right? That spark, the dross, he used to call it, the garbage that we're talking about. As you hit that spark, it'll burn it away. It finally ignites. And that ignition, that fire, it's the other thing he said, watch the film, I'm not gonna ruin it for you. That fire that ignites in me will now burn up that dross, clear my vision, and make me see the unity of all, and not the separateness. That's why God, when man sinned, and he ate of the apple, he says, now you will know death. And most people align that word with mortality, dying of the body. No, death just means separation. That's all it means. So God was telling us, if you eat from the tree of knowledge, which is the neural system, from the tree of knowledge, I will have this persona, or this personality, this identity that I am here, you are there. Not that we're the ocean. You're there, I'm here, now I know death, separation, you, me, judgment, resentment, and all that goes with it. This is why chiropractic helps people. It gets rid of that delusional thinking of separateness and unity.
You know, want to ask Phil, should I anything? Gracias.
Hold back the applause. Thank you.
Very good, Phil. Thank you for that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, featured speaker, Phil Bracco.
All right, just a couple of things before I go on with this. Phil asked a great question, is how does a student or a young doctor who just graduated school with $200,000, I can't believe it costs that much money to go to chiropractic college. I paid $10,000. Thank you, God.
Yeah.
But anyway, how do they get going and forget about that and try to, how do you do it? And my advice to those people is just one thing, is you have to lose yourself in service. And that's all I can tell them. Lose yourself in service. Just keep on serving and serving and serving and serving, and everything will come. Will come. Right? And I think that's important. And the second thing, Brian talked about how if you give and you give and you give, it comes back to you. You know, my dad was a longshoreman, and he was like a big boss down there on the docks. So he had back then, they don't have it anymore. Now everything is on the back of the truck, the 18-wheelers. They take the thing off and put it on the ship. They just lock it in. But back then, there was loose cargo, there was cars, there was all kinds of stuff on the ship, and so they needed carpenters. And the carpenters weren't much. They were skilled guys, but they just would chop things up so nothing would move in rough seas, And they needed electricians too in the ship and on the docks. And they had, like, in Brooklyn, they had like a company that would produce, give them, that they bought all the wood from. So that was a big contract for this company. All the Brooklyn piers, you can imagine how much money goes into that, right? So I was a youngster, and I was playing football at New Rockney football. It was on 97th Street, down below, right on side the highway there, right next to the Verrazano Bridge. And we just started playing. I just started playing there. It was the first time I ever played. And one of the I guess the people in charge of the league, his house burned down right on Marine Avenue, like in the 90s, right, Bay Ridge. Completely burnt down. He had a wife and young kids and so on and so forth. My father didn't know this guy from Adam. You know, we just knew he was just somebody in the league there, who ran the league. So my father says to him, "Don't worry, we'll take care of it." My father got all the carpenters, all the electricians, all the wood donated, and he had plasterers. I mean, you know, not plasterers, you know, sheetrock guys, and he put this guy's house back together in like 15 days. You know, he had a brand new house. You know, same structure, just all new stuff. And he didn't even know the guy. So, like Brian says, when you give, you get back. I'll never forget that. That happened like over the winter time. And that summer, the guy whose house they put back, he came to my father with, he didn't know how to repay these guys. He came with scotch, bottles of scotch, like cases of scotch. He wanted everybody to have a bottle of scotch who helped, you know. And then he bought my father a 5-gallon bottle of scotch that was like on a thing that you had a rocket to just empty it because you couldn't lift it. It was that heavy. And my father doesn't drink. So he gave that to somebody, you know, gave it to my uncle who likes scotch, whatever. But, so it's you know, you just keep on giving and giving and giving. It's really a wonderful world when you give. So let's get going a little bit here. My wife Deborah, about sometime towards the end of the summer or middle of summer, she was carrying groceries, you know, with the plastic bags, you know, they put everything in. She carrying groceries into the house, and she had them in her hand, and she was like reaching for her keys, and the grocery bags, they were quite heavy. They slipped up her wrist, and then they slid down and hurt her finger. The finger was swollen, and it locked out, like she couldn't bend it anymore, and if it was bent, she had to straighten it out herself. It just wouldn't work, you know. So she gave it time, and she was bathing it a little bit here and there. But to make a long story short, little by little, she never has long nails, but some women have like those long nails. She never has long nails, my wife. Her fingernail on her thumb, which she hurt, started to grow. It got longer and longer and longer. And she's, I love this nail. Like it's like scratch you, you know, scratch your back. You know, it's wonderful. I could do a lot of things with it. It kept getting longer and longer. So finally, I said, well, what's going on with that nail? You know, so. I knew it was whatever it had to be. It was doing exactly what it had to be. But we looked it up online, and it said that when you injure a joint, the body throws more blood supply to that joint, and it sends more nutrients into the joint, so that the joint can heal. And if it's a finger, you'll see your fingernails start to grow longer. So, you know, here we are. I'm a chiropractor, and you know, we always talk about the body healing itself, but that was like, you know, you could see it, exactly what was happening. You know? So it's interesting. So my talk tonight is are we all connected together? Are we all tied together? All right. So I'm going to go into a couple of different things. So the belief that that souls travel together in lifetimes or past lifetimes, they travel together, you know, it's a foundation for many spiritual and philosophical, you know, traditions, more or less. You know? So there's concepts linked to that, like soulmates. I don't know if you ever heard of soulmates, karmic relations, reincarnation. So I just wanted to define them a little bit. Reincarnation is the idea that the soul is eternal, and that it takes on new physical bodies after death and continues its journey through cycles of lifetimes. And then karmic relations is they're said to be formed with people of past lives through unresolved issues, like people who have passed through lives together and they have unresolved issues. They call that karmic relations. And then soulmates are people who share a deep, often immediate connection. They can't figure it out, but somehow they just feel like they're connected to one another. And then we have this thing called twin flames, which is two people seen as two halves of a single soul. And people with profound transformative spiritual bonds together, twin flames. So I find this is pretty interesting, and when I think about it, I wonder like how many thousands of people, maybe 1,000 people, pass through the Self Center, right, over the years. And look, I started the Self Center in 1985. And I don't know, what year did the Self Center start?
1968.
So 1968, so from 68 to 85, I have no idea of what happened prior to that. So from 85 on, that's the only time I was there. So you gotta figure there was thousands, I'm being conservative, maybe 1,000 people who passed on through there, right? So maybe it was Pasquale was such an old soul that he lived, many times he came around. And think about it, how many people did you ever meet in your lifetime? Even if it's just hi, how you doing? Some people you have a little bit more information, but you share things together. So it's I think all these people were kind of coming back to the Self Center, because Pasquale was such an old soul, right? The interesting thing is some people came once, and then we never saw them again, right? So maybe they got what they needed to continue on to their journey. And then some people came and they lasted for long periods of time, and then they just disappeared. What happened to them? Nobody really knows, right? So they probably had to stay until that time where they got what they needed and they moved on to the next journey. Yet others like ourselves, we still continue to come to the Self Center, all right? And Pasquale used to say this, he said this, all I need is 12 good people, all right? So it's my belief that we're kind of all tied together. And I also believe by coming to the Self Center meetings, we're able to gather information, like Phil just gave us some great information, and Fernando gave us some information. And we're able to take that information and absorb that information, so it makes my life a little easier, right? It makes my life a little sweeter, right? I pick up information here, okay? And then over the years that I've been coming to the Self Center here, there's been a reoccurring theme, week in or month in and month out, okay? And it constantly comes back to the same thing. And the theme is love, right? We love ourselves, we love our patients, right? So in the Bible, okay, John 13, Jesus was coming close to the end of his physical life here on earth, okay? And he was talking to his disciples, the 12 of them, and he said, I want to give you a new commandment, right? Love one another as I have loved you, okay? So, and then he said, a little later on in the next few lines further on down, he said, and this is how you will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another, okay? So are we all tied together? Sometimes we have ties to people that we don't even know about or even think about, okay? So I just want you to just think about this for a second. Let's go back to like the early 1950s, okay? And we're at a Palma Lyceum. It's in the early 50s, right? And it's a hot, sweltering summer night. I mean, we're sweating like crazy, right? And we're really uncomfortable, right? There's no air conditioning, right? And we've listened to one chiropractor after the next chiropractor after the next chiropractor, and it's kind of like, not another one, saying the same thing, right? And so we gathered here, and it was a long night. There was so many speeches, and kind of like monologues going on and on, right? And in those days, like today, if you went to one of these lyceums, you probably would go with in the hot summertime shorts, cut off shorts, a t-shirt, and maybe some flip-flops. But back then, it's three-piece suits, you know? It's pretty warm, right? And so a chiropractor walks up to the platform, and you really weren't expecting much. It was a long, long day, okay? And that chiropractor gets up, and he says these words, okay? I know that this is not the most comfortable position in the world. But I want to be bold enough to say that I am not speaking on your behalf. I'm speaking in behalf of those who, unfortunately, are in far more uncomfortable position than you or I, or than you are. They're lying on cots of disease and death. And in the main, it is you and I who are responsible for the positions they find themselves in. Okay? So, in the audience that day when that chiropractor said that was a man named Sid Williams. Okay? And Sid Williams was in the audience that night, and he said that those words haunted him for decades. For decades. Right? So who was that chiropractor who said that? The chiropractor who said that was Dr. Bill Werner. Bill Werner happened to be Pasquale's chiropractor, right? Who helped him get through all those times where he was sick as a child, right? All those fevers that he told us about. Sid Williams goes on to open up a chiropractic college, right? Pasquale gets invited down to Life Chiropractic College to speak. Are we all tied together somehow? I believe we are.
I would like to ask Phil Bracco anything.
So why do we collectively, since most traditions, religions, teach us that we're all children of God and that we're all brothers and sisters, no matter what religion, they all teach the same thing. Why do you think it's difficult for people to understand the concept of connection and unity?
I think you said it, Phil, when you spoke. Persona gets in the way.
Can you read that quote again that Phil Werner said during the meeting?
Okay, no problem.
I just need to hear it one more time.
He said, well, I tell you, it was a hot night. Everybody's uncomfortable, they're all sweating, okay?
Yeah.
I know that it is not the most comfortable position in the world, but I want to be bold enough to say that I'm not speaking on your behalf. I know that this is not the most comfortable position in the world, but I want to be bold enough to say that I'm not speaking on your behalf. I'm speaking in behalf of those who, unfortunately, are in far more uncomfortable positions than you are. They're lying on cots of disease and death, and in the main, it's you and I who are responsible for the positions they find themselves in.
What does that mean to you, Phil?
Well, you gotta remember, this is 1950,
Yeah.
right? Okay,
Yeah.
so chiropractic is just coming into its own in the 50s and 60s and 70s. And I believe that what's happening here is that these chiropractors are beginning to realize that chiropractic is more than just their neck pain, these people coming in with low back pain and neck pain and so on and so forth. Chiropractic is about wellness, okay? About improving the function of people's spirit, improving the function of their physical. It's the whole, it's everything. So these people who are sick, they're getting drugs or even crazy drugs at that time, who knows? And they could be better off with chiropractic care than with anything else.
I don't know, something just, you read it again and something is bothering me. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. Could you read the last line again? Saying something that we're responsible for their
That's
condition?
what it said, that's what he said. Mhm.
Now when you,
The line constitutes, and it's it's you and I who are responsible for the positions that they find themselves in. Now you gotta remember, Phil, this is Lyceum. There's a lot of young chiropractors, there's chiropractors who are gonna be chiropractors, they're students, right? You and I know that we're not totally responsible for these people, but in a way, if we give chiropractic to them, right, it makes
may I interject? My understanding is that we're responsible for their condition. Meaning we caused that condition.
No.
Well, read it again.
I read it twice, Phil. I understand, that's how you saw it, but what he was saying is that it's because we're chiropractors, we have to get out there to take care of these people. So that's what he was trying to say.
Okay.
Not because it's my responsibility that you're sick, no, that's not the case. But it's my responsibility to get out and adjust people, give them chiropractic care.
Anyone else like to ask Phil anything?
Yeah, I could see how you could see that. Yeah.
I'm gonna try to phrase this in a question, but I was recently looking at a chiropractor named Steve Judson.
Judson,
I
yeah,
don't know if I pronounced it, and I don't know if you're familiar with his story.
not really. I heard the name though.
He went down to life. He was a SID guy, and he had a similar story. And his idea was, if somebody had told him about it, maybe his brother wouldn't have passed away, but nobody got it out there to tell the story. So that's what you're saying right there.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to ask Phil anything? Anyone?
No, I'm sorry.
I don't know, with your father, that's a great story, your father helping that man.
Yeah.
I don't know, how old were you when that went on?
I was in like
Were you in high school?
7th grade.
Oh, you were a child?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe 6th or 7th.
All right,
grade,
so-
something like that.
But did your father ever bring it up years later? Oh, I did this for this.
Never said a word.
Exactly.
Never.
You just did it.
Yeah.
Anyone else like, what a,
I recognized it,
yeah.
and I speak about it, but he never said a word.
Anyone else like to ask Phil anything?
I was just wondering if Pat was at that Lyceum.
I don't know.
1950, he was a
If you-
chiropractor.
Just listen to this words. Doesn't it sound like Pasquale?
Yeah.
I know that this is not the most comfortable position in the world, but I want to be bold enough. Didn't you hear Pasquale talk like that? If I had to be bold enough to say things like that, so that's actually Bill Warner, and Pasquale probably learned from Bill Warner, and he picked up some of his
Oh,
abilities.
sure.
So, because when I read that, I said, "Damn, that sounds like Pasquale."
Have you heard Bill Warner talk?
I have heard Bill Warner talk. Yeah.
Fernando had it on his
Yeah.
YouTube page,
Yeah.
or
It's a little
channel,
messed up
whatever
right
you
now. It's a
call
little
it.
bagged up right now, but yeah.
Yeah.
He was a great public speaker.
He was. They said he filled up the garden, the old Madison
Yeah,
Square Garden.
1927,
Yeah, 1927, wow.
or 28.
Can you imagine that? Wow,
I might be wrong, it was the late 20s.
yeah,
And he filled that place, well, it was called the ABC, American Bureau of Chiropractic.
right. You know, what's funny, one time I was sitting in my office, I was adjusting people, and the secretary said, "There's a phone call for you." I said, "Phone call?" Get on the phone. Who is it? This is ABC, American, whatever.
American Bureau of
Yeah,
Chiropractic.
Bureau of Chiropractic, and the guy started talking to me. I was like, I know I've heard that somewhere before. Yeah, can't remember what happened after that, but I was like, Pasquale, I got this phone call. He was like, yeah. He was like surprised too.
It was actually run by lay people.
What's that?
It was run by lay people,
Oh, okay.
because chiropractors couldn't run it, or else they would have knocked it, they would have tore it down.
But you know what, the long story is about this was, Bill Warner was, Pasquale told me that Bill Warner was, like, BJ wanted to be like the head, like, of chiropractic.
Yeah.
Bill Warner was like passing him up, you know? So I think that he's told me, this is what Pasquale said, true or not, I don't know. Because that BJ blackballed Warner and kind of shut him out of talking and stuff like that, which is really, if that's the case, it's kind of sad, right? Because we all missed out on a lot of good chiropractic speeches there.
When did he die, Warner, you know?
The 60s,
Yeah.
or late 50s. He was like in the 60s, he died on stage.
He died what?
on stage speaking.
Get out of here.
Wait, heart attack?
I guess, I don't know, he's died.
How old was he? Like,
In his late 60s, I believe.
he was in his late 60s.
Yeah, he was born like 1890, so maybe 1958 he passed away.
Huh?
There's an article, once again, go to the self-center page, and it says chiropractic resources. You go and you see an article how Bill Werner was arrested. It gives you the whole story
Okay.
about what happened to him and explains it in detail. So
Who's this?
Bill Werner was arrested for.
No, where?
Go to the self-center website.
Okay.
And it's, on top it says chiropractic resources. Click that, and then you'll see stuff about Bill Werner on there. You click it, and it's an article written about him, about the ABC, the regular chiropractic, and it just tells you some of the stuff that Phil was talking about, and kind of he was set up
Yeah.
by other chiropractors.
Yeah.
Those young kind.
Yeah, it's too bad. Yeah.
And they talk about it in that article.
Persona. Phil hit the nail on the head there.
And he served 5 months in prison
Yeah.
over that.
That's
And other chiropractors went to his office and took care of his people and gave all the money to his family.
When I was at Life College, we had, who was the guy who was the most arrested chiropractor?
Oh, what was that?
Reaver.
Yeah.
He came up and gave a talk. He must have been 90 years old, right? And he lit the whole place on fire. Let me tell you something, people were jumping out of their seats when he finished. It was amazing, yeah, so.
He paid a price. Anyone else want to ask Phil anything? Anyone?
Great.
Excellent.
Great.
Thanks.